that I possibly can, because it doesn't matter what anyone says. This is the best I could do. And they can't do it. That's why they're writing about me.
When Bruno Mars said that line in what seemed like a harmless interview, there was nothing playful in his eyes. It was a sharp confession about pressure, doubt, and the weight of fame. But only in recent months, when he suddenly dropped strange captions, half-joking, half-serious remarks, and those little slip-ups on stage, did the world begin piecing them together into something bigger. Because this is no longer the Bruno of the doo-wops era. This is the man who dominated the Grammys, shattered Spotify records, and stood tall in Vegas with back-to-back sold-out shows. A star whose single shrug or offhand comment can send social media into meltdown. And now, after that amplified moment with Rosé, after the joke about being almost out of debt, after that defiant interview, quote, Bruno Mars has shaken the internet once again. Is it all just a stunt? A cloud of smoke he throws out for fun? Or is this the first real admission of something he's been hiding through more than a decade of blazing success? The question freezing the world right now is, what exactly did Bruno Mars just quietly confess? The child from Hawaii who stepped into the world. No one knew that long before he became Bruno Mars. The man capable of getting more than 150 million listeners each month, the world had once watched a tiny Hawaiian boy standing in the middle of a stage, dancing in a miniature Elvis outfit, creating a sensation in Honolulu in the 1990s. A child barely tall enough to reach a microphone, yet already carrying a presence powerful enough to hold an entire room breathless. And no one could have guessed that the pop-funk R&B legend of the 21st century began exactly like that. A child star who mastered every hip shake of Elvis before he ever learned the alphabet. Bruno Mars, born Peter Gene Hernandez, on October 8, 1985 in Honolulu, Hawaii, was not just born to be an artist. He was placed at the very center of music from the moment he opened his eyes. His father, Pete Dr. Doo-Wop Hernandez, a Puerto Rican musician, led a band dedicated to classic doo-wop. His mother, Bernadette San Pedro Bayo, a Filipina dancer and singer, brought rhythm and movement into every meal, every weekend morning, every ordinary moment in their small Waikiki home. For Bruno, music was not a profession. It was air. From the age of 4, while most children played with sand, Bruno was performing on stage with the family band, the Love Notes. The sparkling white jumpsuit, the Elvis-style fluffy hair, the tiny shoes but confident steps. That was the image that drew thousands of tourists to the theater just to watch little Elvis perform. He became so well known that he was invited to play young Elvis in the film Honeymoon in Vegas, 1992, his screen debut at only 7 years old. But the story was not simply that he started performing early. It was something else. He was never afraid of the stage. Bruno once said, "I never knew what fear felt like on stage. The stage to me felt like the living room." A child who understood that at 4 years old, that was the seed of a legend. His nickname Bruno was given by his father when he was still a chubby toddler. Pete said that whenever he looked at his son, he immediately thought of legendary wrestler Bruno Sammartino, a man not huge by modern standards, but powerful and explosive. The name stuck, and no one called him Peter again. Years later, when he moved to Los Angeles to pursue music 2004, Bruno decided to add Mars. Why Mars? Because as he said, "I wanted a name that escaped the ethnic boxes. A name that could exist anywhere." And he was right. Bruno Mars sounded like a cosmic explosion, like someone who didn't belong to Earth. And the world has believed that ever since. Bruno's childhood was a perfect blend of discipline and freedom. His parents were not wealthy. The family faced hardship, at times nearly homeless. But what they always kept was music. Their tiny home overflowed with guitars, amplifiers, drums, and rehearsals that stretched late into the night. While his peers played sports or watched TV, Bruno practiced guitar. While they slept, he practiced drums. While they sang for fun, he dissected every note and beat. There is a story that 9-year-old Bruno could already play guitar by ear without looking at chord sheets. In his teenage years, Bruno taught himself guitar, piano, drums, bass, and could mimic the voices of nearly any artist from Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley to James Brown. This ability to transform later became one of the secrets of his success. He didn't just sing. He embodied the spirit of every genre. In 2003, Bruno graduated from Roosevelt High School and made a decision many called crazy. leaving everything behind and flying to Los Angeles with a single goal: becoming a star. No backup plan, no escape route. The 18-year-old boy knew Hawaii was too small to contain his dream. A young man carrying a guitar, a few $100s, a blazing heart, and the ambitious name Mars. Los Angeles awaited ahead, and that was where the real challenge began. But before the world knew Bruno Mars as the man behind more than 130 million records sold, before he stepped onto a Super Bowl stage, watched by hundreds of millions, before he collaborated with Rosé and Lady Gaga, and broke the internet, everything began with that Hawaiian child standing on stage in an Elvis outfit, singing with all the strength of his tiny heart. The question is, how did that child turn a dream into an empire? And what secrets lay hidden on the path from Hawaii to global stardom? That journey has only just begun. From rejected demos to a historic transformation. When Bruno Mars arrived in Los Angeles in 2004, he carried a simple yet blazing belief that raw talent would take him exactly where he was meant to be. But reality settled over him, like a cold gray layer closed studio doors. Demos rejected without hesitation. Long days in Hollywood, where the future seemed to drift one step further away. And then, in the middle of that string of disappointments, a small opportunity appeared: his first contract with Motown Records. It sounded like a dream, especially for someone raised on soul music, but the dream quickly dissolved when no official product was ever released. Bruno Mars began his career with a frightening silence. It was in that silence that he met Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine, two other dreamers also stumbling through Hollywood just like him. None of them had fame, none had backing, but they shared one thing: they all believed music could save them from the dullness and instability of life. Together, they formed the songwriting and production team, the Smeezingtons, beginning a series of sleepless nights in a small studio on Hollywood Boulevard, where the sound of an old guitar, electronic drums, and scattered melodies became the backbone of songs they had no idea where they would end up. Then the miracle happened. Bruno's soaring background vocals cut through Nothing on You, the track they wrote for B.O.B., and instantly pushed it to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. After that came Billionaire Right Round, Fuck You Wavin' Flag, songs the entire world sang, without knowing that the person behind them, the one crafting the music and shaping their soul, was Bruno Mars. His name had not yet appeared before the public, but behind the scenes, the industry had already begun whispering about the Hawaiian kid who sounds like he was born in a Motown studio from the 60s. Then one day, after countless hits written for others, the real door opened. Atlantic Elektra Records decided to sign Bruno Mars in 2009, this time not to keep him in the shadows, but to put him in the spotlight where he belonged. Bruno began sharpening his identity, releasing his vocals in the EP. It's Better If You Don't Understand, a small introduction that quietly sparked curiosity. In October 2010, his debut album Doo-Wops and Hooligans was released and immediately became a phenomenon. Just the Way You Are not only sent Bruno to #1 on the Billboard charts, but also earned 12x Platinum certification and a Grammy for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. Grenade exploded across the globe, dominating 15 countries and selling more than 10 million copies. The Lazy song became an internet culture staple, making Bruno's image in that yellow slacker outfit an unforgettable symbol of the early 2010s. No one called him the guy behind the scenes anymore. His debut album sold over 15 million copies, placing him among the most successful debut artists of the decade. And when Bruno Mars stood on stage accepting his Grammy, his eyes sparkled without a hint of arrogance, only the feeling of finally being seen after so many years of being overlooked. The irony of destiny lies here. Many believe Bruno became a star overnight. They never saw the years he walked into studios with packets of instant noodles, the nights he re-recorded the same line, because no one believed he had what it took to be a singer, or the times he sang background vocals just to pay rent. But every one of those moments, every second, every failure, every cut life carved into him created the Bruno Mars we see today. The little Elvis on that Hawaiian stage had transformed into one of the most distinctive voices of his generation. But what the audience didn't know is that this was only the beginning of a much fiercer journey. The journey of turning Bruno Mars from a talented songwriter guy into a living legend of modern pop funk. The explosion of the Golden Boy. From 2012-2016, Bruno Mars was no longer the rising golden boy of pop. He had officially entered the rarefied air reserved only for artists capable of reshaping the global musical landscape. This was the era when Bruno accelerated, dared to challenge his own limits, and more importantly, became the upgraded version of everything he once dreamed of. After the spectacular success of his debut album, Bruno returned with Unorthodox Jukebox at the end of 2012, fueled by greater boldness and intensity. He no longer wanted to be boxed into gentle ballads or easy-listening pop. This second album felt like a sonic laboratory where Bruno experimented with funk reggae rock soul and free-spirited 80s rhythms. Locked Out of Heaven shot up like a golden bullet, soaring to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and topping dozens of charts worldwide. When I Was Your Man revealed another side vulnerability, rawness, and compressed sorrow in every line. Treasure carried classic disco energy, leading Bruno once again to the Grammy stage, with a win for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2014. But all those victories were merely the opening act for the true earthquake of 2014, Uptown Funk. In collaboration with Mark Ronson, Bruno entered the studio with the excitement of someone ready to explode. The song was built on 80s funk, gleaming horns, thick bass, and rhythms that practically forced listeners out of their seats. Uptown Funk dominated the Billboard Hot 100 for 14 consecutive weeks, becoming one of the most successful songs of the 21st century, reaching more than 4 billion YouTube views and earning the Grammy for Record of the Year. From that point on, the name Bruno Mars was no longer confined to pop. He became an artist capable of sparking a cultural eruption. In 2016, Bruno released 24K Magic, the album that crowned him king of modern R&B funk. This was not just an album. It was a sonic celebration drenched in 90s nostalgia, New Jack Swing slow jams, and silky grooves. That's What I Like became one of the biggest hits of his career, winning Song of the Year and helping the album sweep the Grammys Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. Choreography, lighting, staging, fashion. Everything Bruno did during the 24K Magic era became iconic. He wasn't just a great singer, he commanded the stage like a complete entertainer. Yet Bruno Mars still wasn't done. In 2021, he and Anderson .Paak formed Silk Sonic, a project that felt as if it time-traveled straight from the 1970s. Leave the Door Open soared, immediately winning Song of the Year and Record of the Year, while making Silk Sonic the most successful R&B act of the decade. This was Bruno in his purest form, nostalgic, refined, seductive, and profoundly artistic. From 2024 onward, Bruno began setting his sights on an even wider world. He collaborated with Rosé Blackpink on APT, a global hit that held the #1 position on the Billboard Global 200 for 12 consecutive weeks. The blend of Rosé's East Asian tone and Bruno's Western flair created an energy that was both fresh and addictive. Not stopping there, Bruno shocked the world again with his duet with Lady Gaga, Die With a Smile. August 2024, a track that reached #1 on the Global 200 and won the Grammy for Best Pop Duo Jog Group Performance. 2 consecutive record-breaking hits. Each rewriting its own history proved that Bruno Mars was not just maintaining his momentum, he was becoming sharper in capturing global musical trends. By February 2025, according to The Post, Bruno became the first artist in history to surpass 150 million monthly listeners on Spotify, a number that seems nearly impossible for any artist who doesn't release an album every year. This proves one thing: Bruno Mars does not rely on frequency. His influence comes from absolute quality and unmatched stylistic versatility. Commercially, Bruno Mars has sold more than 130 million records worldwide, placing him among the highest-selling artists of his generation. At least 8 of his songs have reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, including mega hits that have become pillars of pop culture. From Just the Way You Are to Uptown Funk, from That's What I Like to Leave the Door Open, each hit carries its own color, its own identity, never repeating itself. Beyond chart domination, Bruno commands the award circuit: 15 Grammys, 3 Songs of the Year, countless American Music Awards, MTV Awards, Brit Awards, Soul Train Awards, and even 3 Guinness World Records tied to his chart performance and streaming strength. What professionals admire most is this: Bruno has no major scandals, no reliance on gimmicks. His success comes purely from genuine talent and relentless artistic labor. On the performance front, Bruno Mars proves why he is called the new generation king of live shows. His Las Vegas residency, running from 2016 to the present, has grossed more than 124 million USD, making it one of the most successful residencies in Vegas history. The show was originally set to end in 2023, but had to be extended to September 2025 due to overwhelming audience demand. In an era where artists rely on streaming, Bruno Mars still makes thousands fly to Vegas just to see him perform live. From a Hawaiian kid who once sang Elvis songs in small shows, to help his family earn extra income to one of the most influential artists in modern global music, Bruno Mars has created a rise to the top that few can match. Every step he takes is a milestone. Every project has the potential to become a cultural phenomenon. And yet what fascinates audiences most is not only that dazzling spotlight, it's the question lingering beneath it throughout this ascent to the absolute peak. What has Bruno Mars had to sacrifice? The truth behind the confessions. When an artist reaches the peak, the way Bruno Mars has, the spotlight is no longer just a place to shine. It becomes a gigantic magnifying glass that amplifies every movement, every word, every slightly offbeat breath he makes. And that is when backstage stories begin to slip out, slowly turning into confessions that the public obsessively analyzes, dissects, and even exaggerates. It all began on the night of July 13, 2025, a summer evening in Los Angeles, where SoFi Stadium was glowing under tens of thousands of phone lights and the deafening screams of both K-pop and US-UK fans. Rosé of Blackpink was nearing the climax of her performance when a familiar silhouette appeared from the wings. He needed no introduction, no cue. Just his signature mischievous smile was enough to make the stadium erupt. Bruno Mars stepped out greeted by thunderous cheers and blended seamlessly into APT, as if the song had been born for that exact moment. Rosé was stunned, the audience was overwhelmed, and the internet exploded the second Bruno's voice hit the mic. People said that the energy inside SoFi that night felt like an electric storm ripping through the crowd. Rosé's crystalline vocals fused with Bruno's unmistakable coolness and finesse, creating a moment that Korean, American, British, and Japanese media all described with the same word, iconic. But what made that night become the center of an internet investigation came 24 hours later. On the morning of July 14th, millions opened Instagram to find Bruno Mars posting a clip of their joint performance accompanied by a long, exaggerated, humorously chaotic Bruno-style caption, "Almost out of debt. Beh, appreciate you. Rosa, no explanation, no context, no warm-up. Just one sarcastic line written in stretched-out letters as if he were screaming into his phone. And just like that, the whole world lost control. Because only months earlier, a bizarre rumor from News Nation had claimed that Bruno owed more than 50 million USD in gambling debt at Las Vegas, where he has maintained a decade-long residency. MGM Resorts immediately denied it, but the rumor continued smoldering throughout 2024. Audiences remained unsure, because in Hollywood, many crazy stories have turned out to be true. So when Bruno joked about being almost out of debt right after a surprise performance, the public instantly treated it as a fake confession that might be real, or real that might be fake. People debated endlessly. Was he joking or subtly confirming something? Is this humor or adding fuel to the fire? Or is this a stroke of PR genius? One comment read, "Bruno's sense of humor is no joke. Only he could turn a $50 million rumor into an international-level punchline." Another said he just admitted it, in the Bruno Mars way. The interesting thing is that the public reaction was almost universally positive. People laughed more than they doubted. They loved how he pulled the entire world into his private joke, then slipped out before any drama could grow. This proved Bruno possesses a rare skill turning rumors into a comedy stage he directs himself. But beneath the laughter lies a much bigger question. Why is every tiny thing Bruno says treated like a confession? The answer lies in the way he has handled his private life for over 15 years. Bruno Mars is extremely private. He does not live off scandal, does not write philosophical posts, does not live stream sad stories, does not publicly discuss love, hate, pressure, pain like many artists today. That silence creates a vacuum, one that the public fills with imagination. And when someone so quiet says a single suggestive joke, it instantly becomes a cryptic message. He once said in a recent interview, half seriously, half sarcastically, "I like that people think I'm a Vegas lounge singer who owes the mafia for losing money gambling." I care about that legend, I can grow it. This wasn't a casual remark, it was an artistic statement. Bruno understands that myth-making is a costume. Some artists wear glitter, others wear scandal, but Bruno prefers wearing a half-real, half-joking persona, one that keeps everyone guessing. To him, rumors are not threats. They are creative material. His pretend confession the day after the Rosé performance was no exception. He knew exactly what the internet was watching. He knew the timing. And he knew a single Instagram caption could change the temperature of global social media. Some artists deny rumors through press releases. Some stay silent to avoid trouble. Bruno jokes. And that humor makes him more relatable than ever. After performing with Rosé, some speculated about romantic signals. A few tabloid sites even fabricated stories of secret chemistry behind the scenes. But as usual, no credible source confirmed anything. Bruno said nothing. Rosé said nothing. No clarifications, no denials. Just a perfect amount of silence for public imagination to sprint a marathon. The truth is, Bruno Mars has followed the same principle since debut: no exposure of his personal life. No talk about private relationships, no confirmation of romantic rumors. Even his rare, sweet public moments happen only on stage or in his lyrics. That means any tiny gesture, a joke, a glance, a random comment becomes potential confession material. And that uncertainty gives Bruno a kind of soft power. Few artists ever achieve. People don't know what's real, but they are mesmerized by every detail he releases. The night of July 13, 2025 at SoFi Stadium was not just a concert. It was a stage for Bruno Mars to test that power. He baited the world with a surprise performance, then dropped a humorous confession the next day. And that alone kept the entire internet talking about him for days. Some cultural critics say, Bruno's career has reached a point where every movement, no matter how small, instantly becomes an event. While other artists must create scandal to draw attention, Bruno only needs one joke. This level of influence is only possible when an artist reaches the maturity of true fame. He doesn't need to shout. He can whisper, and the world still listens. Looking back at Bruno's confession saga in 2025, the most interesting part isn't whether he's in debt or not, whether he meant something by mentioning Rosé, or what truth lies beneath his laughter. The remarkable thing is how Bruno turns every rumor, every speculation, and every doubt into part of the storytelling myth built around himself. Because for Bruno Mars, legend is not just made of #1 hits, Grammy trophies, or sold-out stadiums. It is also made of how he controls his own narrative intelligently, charmingly, cryptically, and always with humor. And perhaps that is Bruno's real confession. He knows the whole world is talking, and he enjoys it, searching for the answer. What makes Bruno Mars's confessions go viral is not the content itself, but the context and the man saying them. Bruno is not the type of artist who lives on social media or uses scandal to boost attention. On the contrary, he is so private that every statement, even a hastily written joke, carries many times more weight than if it came from someone else. That rarity creates a unique effect. The less he speaks, the more explosive each word becomes. When Bruno posts captions like, "almost out of debt," or "keep streaming," "I'll be out of debt," the internet instantly treats them as crucial clues, as if he just cracked open a secret chapter of his life. A domino effect happens. One Instagram post becomes a headline, then a meme, then a topic of debate on TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter. People don't just laugh at the joke, they feel like they've gained access to the real person behind an artist known for his mystery. What stands out is how Bruno uses humor to control the situation. He doesn't deny harshly, doesn't issue long explanations. He simply squints, shrugs, and turns the rumor into a stage for his own witty intelligence. The public, already exhausted by negative scandals, feels refreshed when an A-list star responds with laughter, and they love him even more for it. In the end, the biggest reason the world keeps talking about Bruno lies in his influence. He is an artist with 15 Grammys, billions of streams, and global #1 collaborations with Rosé and Lady Gaga. Because of that, every move he makes is placed within a larger context. What is Bruno preparing? A new album, a new tour, a global project. That is why a single joke is enough to send the world spinning. When a legend speaks even in a few rushed words, everyone wants to decode whether it's just a playful moment or a signal of the next chapter in the career of Bruno Mars. The spectacular comeback. Even though Bruno Mars remains silent amid all speculation, anyone who follows him understands that his silence is not emptiness. It is the signature sound of an artist entering his melting phase, a period when nothing seems to happen on the surface. But inside, the music is being forged at its highest temperature. It has been nearly a decade since 24K Magic, and those who truly understand Bruno know he never releases an album unless he feels ready to ignite a real explosion. He is sparing with words, sparing with appearances, but never sparing with intellect. So when unusual signals appeared in late 2024 and early 2025, people began to recognize one thing: Bruno was coming back. He just wasn't ready to say it out loud. Those signals came from the music itself, the place where Bruno always reveals clues without speaking. His two massively viral collaborations with Rosé and Lady Gaga electrified social media. What's interesting is that Bruno chose two artists from completely opposite musical worlds, a Gen Z K-pop idol and a vibrant pop art icon. That contrast was no accident. It felt as if Bruno was experimenting with different sonic colors to find a new palette for his next era. Keen critics noticed that Bruno's signature retro funk was now mixed with more modern textures, synthwave, minimalist R&B light trap rhythms, elements he had never fully explored before. This made fans not only excited about the collaborations, but convinced that these might be early experiments for a new album. While international media dissected these clues, the music market reacted with predictions as sharp as metal. Since surpassing 150 million monthly Spotify listeners in January 2025, Bruno has been placed back on the global pop throne without releasing an album or touring. This demonstrates both the durability of his past hits and the explosive potential of whatever he releases next. If an artist can dominate streaming purely with legacy, then a true comeback would create not just commercial success, but a cultural phenomenon. That is why each time Bruno writes a joke like "keep streaming, I'll be out of debt soon," fans read it as a cipher. Some believe he is hinting at the title of his new album, possibly BM4, or maybe something conceptual like Debt Collector. Others study his humor. He may be joking, but major artists often use humor as a shield to hide plans they aren't ready to reveal. An industry insider even shared that Bruno has spent most of the past 2 years in a Los Angeles studio, working with a new team of producers he deeply trusts. There are even rumors he is writing music for a major film project. Some claim it might be the soundtrack for the upcoming Michael Jackson biopic. This rumor spread fast because Bruno has often said, "MJ was the star who shaped my childhood and career." Though unconfirmed, the idea of Bruno being considered for such a project is entirely plausible. He has the ability to recreate nostalgic emotion while keeping a modern edge, exactly what Hollywood looks for in music-driven films. Beyond music, many experts believe Bruno is also preparing for a new world tour. The 24K Magic Tour generated massive revenue, and the Silk Sonic World Tour 2021-2022 proved he remains a master of the modern stage. As videos of his Las Vegas performances circulate with tens of millions of views, promoters have already begun sending offers. The only thing delaying an announcement is likely Bruno's desire to release an album before returning to the road. He does not like touring just to tour. He likes to immerse audiences in a new sonic world, a new narrative, the same way he did with Uptown Funk or Locked Out of Heaven. What's remarkable is that no one truly knows what Bruno is preparing, but everyone believes it is something big. Bruno Mars is not the type of artist who releases songs for fun. He does not chase trends, nor does he need to prove anything to anyone. He only appears when he feels he has something new, worthy and powerful enough to shake the musical landscape. And the movements from 2024-2025 make many believe that moment is approaching. Even though a new album or tour has not been confirmed, all the puzzle pieces are slowly aligning. Surprise collaborations, intensified studio activity, massive listenership, and cryptic jokes that seem to hide something beneath the humor. Bruno's career history also shows that each time he enters an unusually quiet period, a comeback follows, one that makes the entire world rise to its feet. So if the future of Bruno Mars music is truly approaching, we may be standing in the most exciting moment of all, the moment before the storm. A place where every small sound could be a signal, where even a random joke is enough to send the whole world into decoding frenzy. If you want to be the first to witness the next chapter of Bruno Mars, don't forget to follow the channel. Turn on notifications and leave a comment guessing what color his new album will be. Because when Bruno finally steps back into the spotlight, you'll want to be right there in the front row.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast.
There is still so much more to explore. Stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now during on the screen.